everybody, and welcome back.
We are back for another week, following Halloween.
Yes.
We took a week off.
Yeah.
Because Halloween is it's the biggest time of year for the podcast.
Yes, absolutely.
A lot went into that one, and hopefully on this one, you're going to notice a difference.
Yes.
I'm hoping.
Hopefully.
But we are going to take our first trip into paranormal adjacent.
I'm so excited.
It's going to be some true crime mixed with some paranormal down the road.
I love paranormal, but let me tell you, I love true crime so much more.
We've said it on the show before.
I love true crime. Like, I am one of those weirdos that will listen to it to fall asleep.
Yeah, I do it. I listen to it in the shower while I'm cooking.
All the time. It's so crazy. And then we'll sit and watch TV, and we're like, let's find a crime to watch.
Yeah.
Interrogation videos, something,
If you see me looking off to the side, I'm sorry. There's another computer over here now.
Yes.
I'm trying to monitor what we're doing. But we are going to, for our very first one, we are going to travel to Florida. Not that far from where we once lived.
This is true.
And we're going to talk about the killer cop, Gerard John, what's his name again? Schaefer. Gerard John Schaefer.
Okay.
I don't know why he's got to have the middle name in there, but, and he is a bad man. This is going to be, it's going to be a rough one.
Yes.
I'm not going to lie. It is going to be a rough one. Some of these things are going to have to be censored for the video.
Yep.
So,
and it's also a big one.
Yeah, this is going to be our first, I think, 3-part.
Yeah. Just for this. For this guy.
That's right
here.
So this first one's we're going to get into this. It's going to be the kind of the start of, we're going to go to the beginning of his life. We're going to work our way through. Okay. We're going to go beginning of life, crimes, and then the paranormal tie-in at the end. So it's really cool. It's down in Port St. Lucie, which, I mean, we didn't live in Port St. Lucie, but we lived close enough.
Mm-hmm. Like an hour and a half, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. And I just don't know how more people don't know about this case, because it is, when I started looking into this, I had to write down some things that even I was like, oh, whoa.
Really?
Yeah, and that's just in this first part. And
wow.
He does some really, really bad stuff.
See, I don't ever remember learning or hearing about him, but the place that this ties into, I've definitely heard of that growing up in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
So I am very excited.
It is going to get rough.
I say excited, but don't take that the wrong way.
It's going to get rough. I don't know what else to say. I'm trying to put it out there enough so that way don't listen to this with kids. Don't watch this with kids. The stuff we're going to talk about it's pretty bad.
Very earmuffs. Earmuffs for the littles
or for your grandparents.
You're going to be listening to this around them.
So let's get into this.
Okay, let's do it. I'm so excited.
The 1960s and 70s in Florida were a real defining time for the state. Florida's tourism increased after 1965, partially due to the construction of NASA's command centers across Cape Canaveral, Titusville, and of course Merritt Island in 1961.
All places we lived.
Oh yeah.
Super close to.
I used to work out there.
Yeah, I know.
In 1964, tourists were able to drive around Merritt Island on Sundays, and by 1966, tours of the facility were offered. Approximately 1 million people traveled to the area in July 1969 to witness the space launch that took Neil Armstrong to the moon.
Yay!
Big time for Florida. They still talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Disney World was opened in 1971, and Florida became a theme park capital, with small roadside attractions with larger theme parks.
Is a tribute to the philosophy and the life of Walter Elias Disney, and to the talents, the dedication, and the loyalty of the entire Disney organization that made Walt Disney's dream come true. May Walt Disney World bring joy and inspiration and new knowledge to all who come to this happy place. a magic kingdom where the young at heart of all ages can laugh and play and learn together. Dedicated this 25th day of October, 1971.
Some of the smaller attractions included Weeki Wachee Springs, Cypress Gardens, and Silver Springs.
I have been to 2 of the 3 of those.
We lived across the street from Silver
Springs, yes. But I've been to Weeki Wachee Springs.
I've been to Weeki Wachee. I've been to Cypress Gardens, too.
I don't think I've ever been
I've been to all of these.
I don't know. I probably did. I just don't remember.
I grew up going to Silver Springs.
Yeah.
I mean, I have memories of, like, getting a girlfriend in middle school at Silver Springs. Like, way back in the day.
I'd never been until I moved there and met you.
It was fun. It was right next door to Wild Waters.
Yes.
Now, Florida was also a major battleground for the civil rights movement. And in 1964, Martin Luther King Jr. and other civil rights leaders supported integrationists in St. Augustine, where they staged nonviolent demonstrations at segregated beaches and pools.
Dr. King, meanwhile, together with 4 close aides, had moved his personal campaign to America's oldest city, St. Augustine in Florida. The town was a stronghold of the Ku Klux Klan. Many of its members had been sworn in as special deputies by the sheriff, an outspoken segregationist. For King, that made it a perfect place from which to keep the struggle on the nation's television screens and ratchet up pressure on Washington.
I've just returned from the East, from New England. I had a chance to talk with many people, some of whom are considered some of the very outstanding leaders and people of our nation. I believe that I was uttering the truth when I said to them that the Negroes of St. Augustine, Florida, and those that have come in from other communities and their allies in the white community are determined to march the streets of this city until the walls of segregation come crumbling down.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Martin Luther King came to Florida to fight for, black rights and stuff. I
don't think any of it obviously should have ever happened in the first place, but on him for visiting specific places and things and kind of going all over and talking about and doing all his preaching.
Where are you going with this?
I don't know.
The 1960s and 1970s saw a large influx of Cuban immigrants to Miami, which began to take on a Latin American character. So the state really started to grow at a rapid rate. But today's story takes place in the small area of Port St. Lucie. It's at the time it was a very small area.
Yeah, because
it's not now.
It's not now.
It's grown a lot. But
yeah,
the case that we're going to talk about, when it's very small. It's a very small town. Mm-hmm. It hasn't grown yet.
Wow.
It is believed that the name St. Lucie was first introduced to the area by the Spanish, and in 1565, Fort Santa Lucia was built by the Spanish at the Jupiter Inlet, and construction for this fort began on December 13th, the feast day of the Roman Catholic Saint Lucia. I think it's Lucia.
Okay.
Now, Pedro Menendez de Aviles established a colony in 1567 called Santa Lucia, somewhere between Vero Beach and Stewart. Now, old Spanish maps identify the area as Santa Lucia. The current St. Lucie County was known as East Florida in 1810. In 1821, the area was renamed St. Johns County, and St. Johns was split into several counties in 1840, and this area became Mosquito County. 10 years later, the Mosquito County area is slashed into 2 new counties, and the area becomes St. Lucie for the first time.
Wow. Mosquito County.
Mosquito County.
How fitting.
Could have just been the state.
Yeah, 100%.
30 more years pass, and in 1880, the borders were again changed, and it became Brevard County, which I didn't know.
What?
Now, on July 1st, 1905, St. Lucie County, Florida, is established with Fort Pierce as the county seat, and portions are stripped away over the years. First in 1917, Western Acres are taken away to become Okeechobee County.
What?
I did not know this went down like this.
No.
There's a lot of back and forth going on.
I know, like, all the places being named.
Yeah, I mean,
sure.
we definitely know these areas.
Right.
But the way we know them are not the way they were.
No. And I never realized that.
Me either.
Wow.
In 1925, a northern chunk of land is removed and becomes Indian River County, and the southern part of St. Lucie, as well as a portion of Palm Beach County, become Martin County that same year. Now, Fort Pierce, Stewart, and Vero were distinct, mostly self-contained communities linked by US 1 and the high school football team rivalries. The vast amounts of undeveloped land lay between each city, and since the Turnpike and I-95 were still on the drawing board, there wasn't much commuting. The only region residents considered themselves to be part of was South Florida for those in Martin County and East Central Florida for those in Indian River County, and Fort Pierce, a retail hub that attracted shoppers from Vero. Now, Port St. Lucie, now the most populous community in the region, had barely a subdivision or two in the early 1960s. It had been rumored for years that there was sunken treasure off the coast, and occasionally you'd hear of a beachcomber finding a gold coin or two after a storm. Then, in the 1960s and 70s, organized and well-equipped treasure salvers started finding huge amounts of gold and silver, and they would bring it up from shipwrecks of a fleet of Spanish galleons that sank in a hurricane in 1715.
1715.
Now, I wasn't alive for any of this, but I have heard these stories
Absolutely.
before. This
Absolutely.
is a few years, actually not really all that long before I was born, but it began with Kip Wagner's Real 8 Company and Mel Fisher's Treasure Salvers Enterprise. A gold rush was on, and the sleepy communities of Vero, Sebastian, Fort Pierce, and Stewart were transformed. It wasn't long before folks started calling the region the Treasure Coast. That's why they call it that.
Stop.
I knew I was going to blow your mind with that.
What?
I know. Yep, that's why they call it the Treasure Coast.
I had no idea.
I didn't either.
I never put those two together. Wow.
I know the Treasure Coast, obviously, but I never knew why it was called. I just thought it was like, oh, it was a beautiful place to live.
And we knew people found a bunch of gold and all kinds of things and shipwrecks.
But people find gold in Florida all the time because of the old Spanish wrecks. I mean, I've heard of this one in particular, but I never really put the two together that is why they called this area the Treasure Coast.
Blew my mind.
Like,
wow.
With our area, we'll get into it, but they go into that too. Now, Ed Register of Fort Pierce was executive director of the St. Lucie County Chamber of Commerce from 1962 to 1967. He says he has no idea where the idea for the Treasure Coast originated. Quote, "It's just kind of evolved," he said. Now, Pam Cooper, Florida history and genealogy librarian for the Indian River County Library, has a large collection of local historical records at her fingertips. Quote, "There's no definitive source saying who named it the Treasure Coast," she said.
Just kind of.
It just evolved. It just came out of nowhere. People just came up with it.
Here we are. That's pretty cool.
During this time, the Treasure Coast was booming. Growth was happening and tourism had started to really take off due to it was a modern gold rush, really. Meanwhile, about 20 years before this, a man would be born that would forever change the area of Port St. Lucie forever.
Dun, dun, dun.
And he did. It's bad. We're going to get into Gerard John Schaefer. I'm going to warn everybody one last time. Even some of the stuff in his origin story is pretty bad.
Okay. I'm ready. Are you guys ready?
They said yes.
Okay, good.
Now, Gerard John Schaefer Jr. was an American murderer and suspected serial killer, known as the Killer Cop, the Hangman, and the Butcher of Blind Creek, who was convicted of the 1972 murder and mutilation of 2 teenage girls in Port St. Lucie, Florida. He is suspected of up to 26 further murders. Gerard was described by prosecutor Robert Stone as, quote, "the most sexually deviant person that he had ever encountered."
Ew.
Schaefer became known as the Killer Cop because he was a sheriff's deputy in Martin County, Florida at the time of his initial arrest. He was a police officer.
What a jerk. And I bet he got away with doing a lot of things. because of that.
Honestly, his span was not that long.
Well,
it seems like they caught him pretty quick if he only did the 2. I'm just saying.
If.
He also became known as the hangman due to his favorite practice of binding restrained women to trees with a hangman's noose around their neck prior to their torture and murder.
Oh.
Now, Gerard John Schaefer Jr. was born on March 25th, 1946 in Neenah, Wisconsin. He was the first of 3 children for Gerard and Doris Schaefer, describing himself in later life as the illegitimate product of a, quote, forced marriage.
And he knows this because...
You'll find out.
Okay.
His family's really messed up.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Now, I'm going to put up a picture of him right now. This dude looks like he looks like a nice guy.
Okay.
If you pass this dude on the street, you would wave back and say hi.
Creepy.
It's very weird.
I think that's like
the weirdest.
the creepiest.
That's the worst kind of people.
And yeah, because like everybody, he's got one of those just trusting faces.
Oh,
and
he
like,
does.
Could probably just like pull off this innocent
And
vibe.
when he's younger, he's not like a bad looking guy, and he looks like a very friendly person. And I feel like I just feel like it's worse.
Right.
His father did well as a traveling salesman for Kimberly-Clark, soon moving the family to an affluent suburb of Atlanta, Georgia. There, young Gerard did well at Marist Academy. It's a Catholic parochial school.
Okay.
I don't know what that is. Some might say Schaefer's early life was, quote, idyllic. But Schaefer didn't feel that way. He recalled that his parents never had a good relationship, and his father was, quote, always critical, and his mother, quote, always on my back to do better. But I feel like a lot of people were back then.
Yeah, back then, and I feel like it was worse. But honestly, that's what parents are supposed to do.
No. Take it back.
Maybe not these specific parents and the way that they did things. I'm just saying, like,
everybody remember Megan's stance on this before we move forward.
I'm not talking about them specifically. I'm talking about being parents. So you're just going to let our kids go and do whatever the hell they want to do? Just because, with no guidance whatsoever?
Schaefer later described his childhood as, quote, troubled and turbulent, largely due to frequent family relocations, his father's alcoholism, and his father's frequent verbal abuse of his wife and children. Although the Gerard Sr.'s occupation resulted in his being frequently absent from the household, he had a difficult relationship with his oldest son, who resented his frequent belittling of him, and because of this, Schaefer was very close to his mother, who was extremely protective of her children. Gerard Sr. was also said to heavily favor his daughter Sarah, which made Gerard John, quote, want to be a girl. Those are his words.
Oh.
It was at this time in his life that he admitted to having thoughts, quote, I wanted to die, Schaefer told a psychiatrist. I couldn't please my father, so in playing games, I always got killed. He's very young at this point. He's like maybe 8.
Oh my.
As a child, Schaefer preferred outdoor activities. As a young boy, he had developed an interest in nature. His primary interests as a teenager included collecting guns, hunting, and fishing, activities that he and his father occasionally pursued together when his father was at home. At the age of about 12 or 13, he, quote, discovered women's panties and began to masturbate while wearing them. He also practiced masochistic bondage. Quote, I'd tie myself up to a tree, struggle to get free, and I'd get excited sexually and do something to hurt myself, unquote.
Oh.
These are his words from an interview. Soon the violent images turned outward. Quote, I would fantasize hurting other people, women in particular. Schaefer admitted that he had a large preoccupation with death, sometimes reaching the point where he, quote, didn't know what was fact and what was fantasy.
That's scary.
It gets scarier, unfortunately. Much, much scarier.
That's
because
terrifying.
These are just the thoughts of a young boy.
Right.
You still have that hope that maybe this is like a phase or maybe just intrusive thoughts.
Right.
But nobody really knew how bad this kid was because he was really good at projecting that nice guy,
right,
to the world. And he wasn't okay. He's not okay.
I lived in Nashville, but we moved to Georgia. You lived in Sexton Woods, which is off of Peachtree, I guess, the big street. And I went to Sexton Woods Elementary School, and then I went to Our Lady of the Assumption, and then I went to Marist for the beginning of my first year of high school, but then we moved to Florida. But I grew up in the Catholic school in Assumption, and played league ball with the Catholic League in Atlanta in 1958, 59, and 60, and would have gone to Marist Military School with all the other guys from Assumption. They either went to Pius X or Marist. That's all you went to. And then we moved down here, and I went to the Catholic school. Did all the normal things. Mostly sports, Catholics are very big on sports, basketball and football especially in the Catholic League. I don't know what it's like now in Atlanta, but back then it was you had the private school circuit where all the different private schools had their own league, and we played Westminster and all the different, private Catholic schools and private Christian schools. Well, that was my thing. I was a golfer. I played at Chastain Park, and I was at Chastain Park when I wasn't doing anything else. I was at Chastain Park hitting the golf balls and hunting and fishing at the Murphy Candler. They made that into a park, but before it was a park, that's when I lived there, and they had the lake, and you could go up there and shoot the 22s and fish for brim and bass in the Murphy Candler Park Lake. And I'd sneak on Peachtree Country Club and fish in their lakes, stuff kids do. In Atlanta, it's like when you're going into puberty and you start discovering about sports and you get into this male bonding thing, and we're on the basketball team. I was a starter, and I was on the football team. I was an end, and golf was coming up for high school, and I had to get out there and get ready to be on the golf team. And Atlanta had a good golf program. Junior golf has always been big in it. My father worked for Kimberly-Clark Corporation, paper manufacturer. He was a salesman for them, and everything was fine. Well, Sexton Woods is not like a low-class area, My dad was a good salesman, and one of their best. I'm the eldest brother, and I have a younger brother. Family of three, mom and dad and the dogs.
Get to know the family.
Went to work, a 9-to-5er, working for the Kimberly-Clark in downtown Atlanta, and occasionally being on the road, as sales meetings and that. And, going to Catholic school and coming home and doing your homework and doing sports, going up to the lake. What's the big lake? No, I didn't have an abused childhood or anything like that. Regularly good childhood. I didn't even know what marijuana was until I got into university. My parents were very strict, straight-up Catholics. I mean, Catholic school, Mass every morning, Mass on the weekends. You go to Sunday church, you don't do anything before you go to church. Straight-up Catholics. They were Catholics before they got married. They got married as Catholics, and they raised as Catholics. And Catholics see everything sort of like black and white. The sin is over here, and the correctness is over here, and there's no gray area in between. That's how Catholics are. And of course, growing up that way, and being in the Catholic elementary school and the Catholic high school, I had a very, very black and white view of the world, what's right and what's wrong. And I didn't learn to equivocate until I got to the university for gray areas. But that's how I was raised. I was raised very strictly in the Catholic Church. In fact,
the Schaefers moved to Fort Lauderdale, Florida in 1960, promptly joining the local yacht and country clubs. And Gerard Jr. met his girlfriend Cindy when he was 14 and saw her steadily for the next 3 years. And this is the most dysfunctional teenage relationship ever.
Ew.
Now, they were lovers, but Cindy would only perform in scripted scenarios, demanding that Schaefer tear her clothes and each time they had sex. When he balked at continuing the game in 1964, she dumped him. He didn't even want to do this.
Cindy. Come on now.
Oh, boy.
Come on now.
Yeah, so he wasn't into it, even though he had already started to have some
type of feelings for that kind
tendencies,
of thing.
Yeah, but he wanted a normal relationship with her. and she wasn't not down with it.
Cindy was
Cindy's a freak.
Woo, woo.
Hey, and I'm not freak shaming. I'm
No, not at all.
I mean, I'm not a freak, but. So the same day, Schaefer went into the woods and played his bondage games again for the first time since leaving Georgia. Yearbooks from St. Thomas Aquinas High School list Schaefer as a member of the football team in his sophomore and junior years, but no one remembers him playing or joining in any group activities.
What?
Yeah.
Did he? Wait.
I don't know.
Did he just like squeeze into pictures for the yearbook or something?
The majority of this story is coming from it's kind of like an online website book.
Okay.
And it goes into great detail. And a lot of these are actual accounts from people who knew him.
Wow.
And nobody remembers him actually
like playing
any sports or being in activities,
quote unquote, a part of.
Yeah. So it's very
weird.
Strange.
Okay.
Now, classmates recall him as being a loner, labeled, quote, weird and, quote, out of it. And one noted that Schaefer, quote, would practically stand on his head to see up a girl's skirt. Now, in class, he angered the nuns by questioning religious dogma, once writing a long essay scientifically challenging the virgin birth of Christ.
Oh wow.
And this is back in the 60s.
The 60s, yeah.
So people didn't really do that back then. Or actually, it might have been the 50s.
I'm a priest. Yeah, I had some problems with the Catholic Church's structure. It's too dogmatic, and they don't invite you to question the dogma. And I'm a questioning, sensitive person. I'm a creative person, and I have a good imagination and a good mind. And I want to be able to go to the priest and say, what's the story on this? Virgin birth, right? How do you explain this? What's the story? Give me some books to read about this. And they don't want to hear it. They, whoa, Okay. And that's how come I didn't go. I had a golf scholarship. 12 and 13 and 14, that age right in there, 11 to 14. The first kiss was at a high school dance in Fort Lauderdale. I remember it very well, out underneath the ficus tree. I can even tell you what she was wearing. It was lovely. She was one of the girls at the Catholic school. But as far as, having sex, there was none of this sexual stuff like that goes on in the schools today. And everybody's, wearing little brief costumes and everything. You didn't see that back in 1961 and 62. I had good experiences. In fact, when Kathy Wrightson, the first kiss, I went steady with her all the way through high school. So until I was out of high school, I only dated one girl. Well, the regular petting that anybody does when you're in high school, kissing and petting. But as far as sexual intercourse, no, not in high school. That's telling tales out of school, isn't it? That wouldn't be very nice to put somebody's name like that into who was sexually repressed and could not enjoy a normal, intimate relationship. Okay. But that's how people are, and especially in some girls that are brought up in very strict Catholic schools. I found out that are so repressed sexually that they just have to feel as though that they've been forced into it and can't say. They say no, and you just have to say yes, and you have to be forceful and persistent, and then they say, oh, I'm overwhelmed, and that's how they rationalize it away. Well, I'm more of a romantic type, and I like moonlight and flowers and romance, and that sort of this was beyond my experience. I didn't understand it at the time. Later, when I went to the university and I studied abnormal psychology, I began to understand that there are people who are not sexually the way that normal people are. Like I say, normal, I just know how I am. I'm a romantic, but other people aren't. And apparently, she needed that kind of forcefulness of personality to make it okay for her. It wasn't like she went home bruised and bleeding or anything like that. It's a scenario. A role playing, I guess, is what you call it. And probably what they do with sexual surrogates today. Officially, if you've got some problem, they meet you up with somebody and you role play it out Apparently this is a big business out there. I don't know what they do out there now. I've been in 20 years. Oh, Lee, you should think.
Now, mostly, he preferred solitary pursuits, especially hunting in the Everglades. Neighbor Gary Hainline remembered that Schaefer, quote, enjoyed shooting things you can't eat. Songbirds, land crabs, that sort of thing. And Schaefer sometimes played tennis with Gary's sister, Lee, which I think is so funny because it's spelled the way you spell your middle name. Though sources disagree on whether they dated or not. Lee Hainline was 2 years older than Schaefer, and he sometimes crept around her house at night, while he watched her undress through the window. She was not the only female target of his voyeurism, but Schaefer blamed them all for, quote, taunting him, despising them as, quote, sluts and whores.
Excuse me. She is literally in her home, in her bedroom, changing. That is none of your business.
I couldn't agree with you more.
None of your business, sir.
I couldn't agree with you more. This is the indication here that I'm not saying like looking up girl skirts and like choking yourself out, you know, getting in the woods. None of that is normal by any means.
Right.
I feel like it was easier as a boy back in those days to be like, he's a boy. Boys will be boys. He's looking up girl skirts.
Especially for the time.
It's not okay, though. I'm not saying it's okay because it's not. But I feel like that's a lot more passable than the peeping Tom aspect because that was even frowned upon back then.
Yeah.
There was no boys being boys when it came to that.
Do not.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Now, although he dated in his high school years, several female classmates viewed him with disdain. They did not like him.
I wonder why.
One former classmate, Barbara Krolik, later said, quote, I can't remember him being friends with any of the guys. He was always on the outside looking in. As a matter of fact, the only thing I really remember is that I always had to tuck my skirt under my legs because Schaefer would practically stand on his head to look up a girl's skirt.
Coming from a girl.
Yes.
Like she felt the need to wrap her skirt around herself.
Yes.
When he was near.
In his presence, absolutely.
Gross.
In the spring of 1964, Schaefer met 17-year-old Sandy Stewart at a school dance. She later described him as a, quote, dazzling young stranger who swept her away and became her first lover, all the while impressing her family with his impeccable manners. That's what I'm saying. This dude really does look like the all-American boy.
And knows how to say things and do things.
Yeah.
And
well, because he's a psychopath.
Yeah.
Now, Schaefer took her on excursions to the Everglades, seeming amused when Sandy couldn't bring herself to kill an animal for sport. She found him, quote, a sensitive and enthusiastic lover, unquote, eager to please. This sounds so gross. Schaefer went on to graduate in June of 1964, but the romance continued, and he traveled with Sandy's family and became a fixture at their home. And for the first time ever, Gerard's life seemed truly idyllic, but nothing could be further from the truth.
Oh boy.
Now, oddly enough, even though he was still dating Sandy Stewart, Schaefer considered joining the priesthood in 1964. He applied to St. John's Seminary and was promptly rejected. Gerard himself went on to say, quote, they said I didn't have enough faith. I didn't think it was fair. And after years of daily mass attendance, Schaefer decided that he had been, quote, under a certain Catholic mind control thing, and he left the church for good.
Well,
I find that weird that he was going to go, join the priesthood. Yeah.
No.
Just 3 months later, he enrolled at Broward Community College, where it is said he was less than a star student. Now, Schaefer spent more time hunting in the Everglades, and his relationship with Sandy started to deteriorate quickly. Schaefer often poured out angry, tearful revelations of his urge to kill the women who aroused him, like his neighbor Lee Hainline, who stripped before an open window, or another who dared to sunbathe in her own backyard. Sandy saw firsthand his violent clashes between him and his father, listened to the stories of his ex-girlfriend Cindy and her rooms, and finally, no longer able to live like this, she ended their relationship. He said all this to her.
Bruh. How dare she sunbathe in her backyard?
I mean, yeah, all that's bad, but what was he thinking telling somebody this stuff?
He has to know that it's not normal, right?
I don't know if he does.
Right?
I don't know if he does.
Like, what?
Oh, Lee, is she thinking of undressing in front of the window? Well, she was another girl. She went to Stranahan, and I went to St. Thomas, and Stranahan is a secular high school. And she was more liberated, you know, and she got off on doing her little striptease in front of her window at night for myself and Pete Maddock and Topper Keefe and the boys of the neighborhood, right? And she was entertaining. And I always felt that was kind of slutty, you know. So that's not the way that good Catholic girls behave. She wasn't a Catholic girl. She was brought up in a different system, and she was trying to attract male attention. Her name was Lee Hainline. Well, naturally, I get turned on just like everybody else, because mostly it was a group thing. All the guys are over were playing cards or watching TV or whatever, you know. And Lee, we'd say, oh, it's getting about 10 o'clock. Lee'd be up in the window, you know. We'd go out on the yard and watch. You know, I'm not judgmental. I went over to Lee's house and made a move on her. Yeah, well, obviously she was up there dancing around looking for some attention. I think I gave her attention. I went up and she invited me right up to the bedroom. I had a good time with Lee. I was in college when I was with Summerlin. She was in high school, but I was in college. I met her at a high school dance, and I was at the dance with a girl by the name of Dee Cunningham. And I looked over there and I saw Sandra, and she was sitting there, and she looked awfully familiar. And I went up to her and I said, don't I know you from somewhere? It was a great opening line, right? So I just had to do it. I was compelled. I just knew her from somewhere, it seemed like. And she said, no, I don't think so, you know. Well, eventually I found out what her name was. I asked somebody what her name was, that it was Sandy Stewart. And I went home and I looked in the phone book, and I went down the Stewarts, and I went through every S-T-U-A-R-T trying to find it, and every S-T-E-W-A-R-T trying to find it. And finally I tracked her down. I think I asked one of the guys who went to Stranahan, you know. But I called her up and I got a date, man. You know, I'm not bashful. If I like them, I call them up and say, let's go out. And that's what I did with her. And we hit it off very well, and we went steady for about a year. A lovely relationship. That's right, around the end of '65, maybe September or so, because she was going off to New College, and I was staying at college where I went here in Florida. New College is on the other side of the state. So we broke it off. No, she was going away to school, and you can't go steady when somebody's in Tampa and you're in Fort Lauderdale. It was very amicable. It's that we had a great time together, and it's time to move on. Complicate things by trying to remain steady, but there was no animosity or anything like that. I was hurt naturally, you know, because I take a much deeper interest in my relationships. Sandy's she's flighty and superficial in her relationships, and she moves around, bounces around from one to another, whereas I'm a one-man, one-woman type of person, because that's the way that I was raised and trained in the Catholic Church. I always blame it on the Catholic Church, just like Frank Zappa and every other Catholic guy that gets hooked into this one-man relationship. He said, yeah, I've got to blame it on the nuns and the priests, because that's what they taught us. And I was just not taught to be promiscuous. If you had a relationship that was emotional and sexual with somebody, it was a commitment, and you made a commitment to them, and you were their friend and their lover, and promiscuous. If you had a relationship that was emotional and sexual with somebody, it was a commitment, and you made a commitment to them, and you were their friend and their lover, and you didn't stray, you know. Here's what happened.
Schaefer begged and pleaded for her to come back. He even went on to stalk her while she dated other men, before he finally gave up. And next, Schaefer confessed his homicidal urges to his creative writing teacher, who in turn referred him to the college's counselor. He told Dr. Neil Crispo he wanted to join the army because he, quote, would like to kill things. I even like to shoot at cows now. Now, Gerard at some point had begun to kill livestock, cutting off the heads of the animals with a machete before he would their carcasses.
Bro.
Yeah.
No.
I felt so weird writing that.
No.
Is that problematic for you?
I mean, like you hear with most serial killers or, people with those type of tendencies that they kill animals. And like, that's one of the signs, along with wetting the bed and like all these, all these other things.
Wetting the bed, starting fires, what's something, I don't remember.
Killing
animals.
Torturing animals.
No, I think that falls under killing animals. I believe it's those three things.
Okay.
But yeah, this is really bad.
But that's too far. It's too far.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because now we've gone from self-pleasing through torturing oneself to peeping toms and wanting to kill the girls that you're going out of your way to watch.
Mm-hmm. Because it's their fault.
To killing animals for no reason, to then killing animals, beheading them, and having sex with their dead bodies.
Sir, too much.
I mean, nothing in this is going to get better as we go.
Oh, I know.
I think we have like a little light period in his life.
Oh, God.
But that's about it.
So if anyone is listening to this and you are uncomfortable, I'm so very sorry.
Yeah, I mean, we are too.
Like,
it is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
it is what it is.
Back at school in the autumn of 1965, Schaefer completed one semester before leaving to travel with the Sing Out 66, the musical road troupe of the super patriotic, quote, moral rearment movement. Okay. They're like they're a singing group.
No, I get that, but is it like a patriotic group?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I just said super patriotic.
I don't know. Okay, that's just weird.
Future movie star Glenn Close was part of the chorus, but Schaefer preferred Boston native Martha Fogg. So he could have dated Glenn Close, apparently.
What?
Now, they dated that summer, Schaefer planning to join the group's European tour, but he was sidelined by measles and lost touch with Fogg, returning to college in September of the following year. Gerard graduated from Broward Community College in 1967 with an associate degree in business administration. Upon completion of his sophomore year at Broward, he applied for and was accepted for a scholarship at Florida Atlantic University, or FAU, in Boca Raton, where he began his studies in 1968 with aspirations to obtain a Bachelor of Arts in Education. I mean, so even if he's not doing great at school, I mean, he's doing it.
He's doing something, I guess. I mean, education, though. What's wrong with that? I don't like that.
Well, I mean,
all the other things
but nobody
that this man has going
nobody
on.
knows what he's doing at this point. Like nobody knows the things that are going on. We only know this because hindsight is 2020. Mm-hmm. We know because the case has already been cracked.
I get that.
But during the time, other than his girlfriend that he poured his heart out to, nobody really knows most of this is going on. Mm-hmm. This is all a big secret.
Gross.
Now, his grades failed to support a student deferment, and Schaefer was ordered to report for his Army physical in April of 1968. Instead, he left a suicide note in his dorm room and fled. A roommate, Jerry Webster, found him at their favorite shooting range, Schaefer later stating that, quote, he did it to help him get the deferment. So he's trying to help. He's saying that he's trying to get out of being drafted. He's draft dodging.
I get it. But that, like, you didn't even leave your area.
No.
What?
Well, no, because then you're isn't that what are they? Then you get in trouble for draft dodging. He's doing it in a way where they're like, we don't want you.
Okay. Well, I guess that makes more sense.
It's like they won't take you if you're like suicidal,
like mentally ill, things like that. Yeah.
Dr. Raymond Killinger referred Schaefer for emergency psychiatric testing on May 17th, 1968. The test revealed no suicidal urges, but found that his, quote, psychological disorganization is severe and his frustration level low. I have no idea what that means. I guess they're like, he's crazy. I don't know.
I don't know. Like his compartmentalizing and his brain is all over the place, or
no, I just think they're saying he's out of his mind, but takes it well.
Okay.
Nothing supports Schaefer's later claim that he wore women's underwear to beat the draft, but he did receive a 1Y deferment for mental, moral, or physical reasons. Now, no one from FAU recalls him wearing women's clothing, though Schaefer insisted he, quote, was very open about it. Because back then, they wouldn't take you if you were gay or something.
Yeah.
Now, the draft dodge claim surfaced only after police searched his mother's home in 1973 and found snapshots of Schaefer dressed in lingerie. Meanwhile, the 22-year marriage of his parents was falling apart. I definitely couldn't see that coming.
Yeah.
Gerard Sr. had continued drinking heavily for years and constantly cheating on his wife behind her back. And in May 1968, he lost his sales job and things went from bad to worse. Doris then filed for divorce on July 2nd and her husband moved out.
I mean,
I'm sure she was way happier.
Yeah.
Because he sounds like a terrible guy.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want to do that for years, that's for sure.
Yeah. Now, Schaefer, working a construction job at the time, quit and embarked on a hunting trip to Michigan. He returned to Florida accompanied by Sing Out's Martha Fogg and startling news of their new engagement. And the two quickly married in December of 1968.
Wait, what?
So he just went off on a hunting trip to Michigan and came back with a
wife.
fiance.
Okay. Well.
And it was the girl that he tried to travel to Europe with, but he couldn't go.
Right.
Weird.
Oh, okay.
It's just so weird that you would run into somebody randomly in another state.
Yeah.
I don't.
I'm like, oh, hey.
Yeah, it's very strange.
What?
Now, the newlyweds moved in with Schaefer's mother and began attending Florida Atlantic University in January 1969. Schaefer was assigned as a student teacher at Plantation High School on February 27th, but he soon ran into trouble. Persistent efforts to, quote, impose his moral and political views on the students, unquote, alarmed staff members, and Plantation's principal fired him a few weeks later, stating it was due to Schaefer's, quote, totally inappropriate behavior. And he then found himself jobless for several months after, and Schaefer mostly stayed at home or in the Everglades, but his mind was working overtime.
Oh, you don't say he had totally inappropriate behavior that made him lose a job?
Well, they're saying because he was trying to, like, you know how you talk about certain people that at work sometimes that will go off on political tangents, and
yes,
it was stuff like that, but he was trying to push it on the children, that and his just weird ideologies when it comes to stuff. So the school was like, we can't have you doing that.
They were like, yeah, no, we're good.
Yeah. Can't have that. He constantly dwelled on his failure as a priest and a teacher. Increasingly, Schaefer found himself, quote, convinced that indecent women and prostitutes should be destroyed for the welfare of society. And Gerard knew just the person for the job. After a rocky marriage, Schaefer's parents divorced in September of 1969, just as he returned to Florida Atlantic University. 3 days after classes convened on September 8th, a mysterious fate overtook a former neighbor, the object of his teenage lust and rage.
Stop.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Now, Lee Hainline had married Charles Bonadies, I don't know, on August 21st, 1969. Now, it was a rocky union from the start with frequent fights. One subject of contention was Lee's story that her childhood neighbor and sometime tennis partner had offered her a $20,000 salary to join the CIA. Now, Charles laughed at the idea and told her to forget it.
What? Don't work at the CIA? Okay.
Less than a month later, on September 8th, he came home to find a note from Lee saying that she had gone to Miami. She never came back, and her car was later found in a Fort Lauderdale parking lot. Lee's brother would go on to call Schaefer and heard a strange story.
Oh, God.
He said that Lee had called him to say that she was leaving Charles and asked him for a ride to the airport, where she meant to catch a flight to Cincinnati. Now, Schaefer says that he agreed, but Lee never called back with a departure time. I don't believe him.
Mm-mm.
I do believe that he's never admitted to killing her.
Okay, but why would she call him and not her husband or her brother or someone a whole lot closer than a freaking neighbor?
I think it's pretty well agreed that he made her disappear.
Yeah.
But he's never admitted to it. I don't think he's admitted to a lot of crimes, honestly.
I think that's even worse.
It is.
If you're gonna do it, say you did it.
Sometimes that's the disconnect with them. It's like if they don't talk about it, they didn't do it. I don't know.
You definitely still did. 100%.
We think. There's no way to be sure, like 100%, unless he tells you, but I think he did it. And Charles filed for divorce on October 6th. His petition was granted on March 10th, 1970. Nothing more was ever heard of Lee until her jewelry mysteriously surfaced at Dora Schaefer's home in April of 1973. Her fate still remains unknown.
Oh, how did her jewelry show up?
Well, that's the thing. So, he's a serial killer, and they keep trophies.
Absolutely. That's exactly where my mind went.
That is a
trophies.
That is a trophy.
Yep. Either locks of hair, clothes.
Why do you have to go with hair? That's gross.
Well, we've seen it before, have we not?
Like a Ruth Battaglia shrine. Hey Arnold.
Or underwear, like specifically for clothing.
A lot of times it'll be like IDs, jewelry.
Yep.
Underwear. Mm-hmm. It's always a big thing.
Undergarments.
Yeah. I just go upstairs for yours.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
Schaefer's second try at student teaching didn't go any better than the first. Now, FAU administrators placed him at Stranahan High School, but supervisor Richard Goodhart removed him on November 11th, 1969, after a series of classroom misconducts. Now, Goodhart recalled, quote, "I told him when he left that he'd better never let me hear of his trying to get a job with any authority over the people, or I'd do anything I could to see that he didn't get it." End quote.
That's pretty serious.
Well, if you remember,
absolutely not. He should never work.
If you remember from the last one, he had the same issue.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't stop, pushing his views and
his ideas onto the students,
right?
It was a college?
Yeah, it was mostly politics.
Right.
And he couldn't stop himself from pushing his ideas onto kids, and the school didn't want that. They wanted him to be a teacher. It's weird.
Oh, you have a teaching job. They want you to teach and not preach about your ideals on things. I mean, what a concept.
The next to disappear from Broward County was Carmen Marie Halleck, a 22-year-old cocktail waitress. She had lunch with her sister-in-law on December 18th, 1969, discussing a date she had planned for that evening. Halleck said she was meeting a teacher who had offered her a job involving, quote, some kind of undercover work for the government. Now, this position featured international travel and lots of money.
Oh, you don't say. A same type of job was offered to this woman.
I do say. That's kind of his MO, is that, I don't know, he was like, you want to work for the CIA? He's a weird guy, man.
I wonder, though,
saying the CIA back then was different than today, though. This was like today you'd be like, narc. Back then, I mean, you were still a narc, but it was like a prestigious thing.
Right.
Yeah, it is still prestigious, don't get me wrong. But it's just how the public viewed it then versus now.
Right. But my thinking is, like, these two women get this almost same job offer, quote unquote,
I mean,
making lots of money for the CIA.
We all know it's him.
Like, is he making these phone calls, like, as someone from the CIA offering these random people a job?
I don't think so. But I do think he's claiming to work for the CIA and offering jobs to women to get them alone and travel with him. This bad guy. Now, Halleck missed work the next night, and when she had not been seen by Christmas Day, her relatives used a spare key to check her apartment. They found the bathtub full and her dog unfed. Halleck's car was found in a nearby parking lot a few days later. When Schaefer's stash of souvenirs was seized in 1973, police recovered 2 of Halleck's gold-filled teeth and a shamrock pin identified by her family, and her body has never been found to this day.
Trophies.
Just like Lee Hainline.
Trophies. Found in a parking lot.
These are 2 women that don't know each other.
Right.
But both of their things were collected as souvenirs and found at his mother's house. So
disgusting.
I'll let you determine how you feel about it. But I know for me, and probably for you, he probably killed these ladies.
100%.
I could only imagine. And when we get into the things that he does to these women, it's mortifying. He does awful, awful, awful things.
I don't know what he has done to these women yet, but
it's not good. It's like every woman's nightmare.
Sit in that apartment and starve.
Bad.
Such a bad dude.
Bad dog.
Get out of here.
Yep. Now, in March 1970, Schaefer petitioned FAU administrators to alter his records, changing the November withdrawal to a, quote, incomplete, and allowing him to resume study. They agreed, and Schaefer returned as a full-time student, along with his wife. Now, the marriage was doomed, though. Martha filed for divorce on May 2nd, citing Schaefer's extreme cruelty.
I can only imagine.
And so this is what, his second marriage already?
Yeah.
He's not even out of college yet.
Poor Martha.
Martha? Poor Martha. He rebounded with a month's vacation in Europe and North Africa, including trips into the Sahara Desert. Schaefer would later boast of victims, quote, on 3 continents. And while given his record, the claim might be plausible, however, no slayings outside the U.S. have ever been confirmed. By October 1970, to make tuition money, Schaefer was working as a security guard at Florida Light and Power.
FLP.
We used to pay them.
Yeah, it's actually FPL now.
Yes. There, he met secretary Teresa Dean, and they became engaged. This dude is constantly engaged. Tying the knot soon after Schaefer's August 1971 graduation from FAU with a bachelor's degree in geography. It was useless without a teaching credential, but Schaefer had chosen a new career path. Having failed to, quote, do right as a priest or teacher, because remember, he was also a priest.
Yeah, I remember.
He set his sights on law enforcement. This is honestly probably where a lot of dislike for law enforcement stems from and stuff like this. Don't get me wrong. I know that there are a lot of bad cops, but there are also a lot of really good cops.
Yes.
You know, don't stone me in the comments or anything, but I am a supporter of the police. We need them. You know, they restore law and order. And while every walk of life will have good people and bad people, I'm sure some of this is where dislike of law enforcement comes in.
And I think nowadays, like in now times compared to in the 70s, there was a lot more corruption back then.
Oh, way more.
Whereas now it's few and far between.
There's still a lot of corruption. It's just done differently.
Right.
But the invention of the internet has put more things out on Front Street. You're able to reach a lot more people and tell them what's going on. So like, back then you communicated through long distance phone calls and handwritten letters. That's just how we did things, faxing. But now you can reach pretty much anybody in the world like that.
Yeah.
So it's harder to get away with things like that. But I don't know. There's still as much corruption. It's just different. Mm-hmm. Hired by the Wilton Manors Police Department on September 3rd, 1971, Schaefer was sent back to Broward Community College, this time to the school's police academy, though. Now, he failed to disclose the fact that he had twice been fired from student teaching positions within the previous year, instead falsely claiming to have acquired 2 years' experience as a research assistant at FAU and to have recently returned to the U.S. from Morocco. Schaefer's previous work history was never verified.
Always verify.
Again, though, different time.
Always.
And even if they did verify, it's not like nowadays where you can nowadays you can almost you hire people.
Yeah,
you can get almost an instant hit on somebody.
Absolutely.
Right? You can send something out and within 10 minutes they could be like, that's a bad person.
I've only been in management for under 2 years at this point. It's been about 1.5 years, almost
Hottest
2 years.
manager ever.
But I just recently started doing interviews and things, within the last 1.5 years or so. And it did not take long for me to do maybe 10 interviews. And then I could start to see those things where I'm like, yeah, no, I'm going to pass.
Yeah, they're the personality traits.
Yeah, it's either personality or just fits. Are they going to, kind of fit? Do they have what it takes kind of thing? Mm-hmm. I don't know, but it did not take long for me to be like, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no.
Well, yeah, because and especially when you work with people side by side all the time, you pick up on those personality traits that, may or may not meld with the other people that you've worked with for years. So you'll just kind of know.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, you're doing a good job.
Always verify.
You're doing a good job.
Thanks, babe.
Now, he graduated on December 17th, 1971, and hit the streets to begin his 6-month probationary term. Schaefer was just 25 years old at this point. He was on the job barely 3 weeks before another local woman disappeared. Belinda Hutchins was another 22-year-old cocktail waitress, married to a drug addict who later told police that she, quote, had her own lifestyle and, quote, did what she wanted to do. Live it, girl.
She's 22. Let her live her life.
Yeah, do your thing.
Jeez.
Arrested for prostitution in November 1970, she had paid a $250 fine in Fort Lauderdale. Now, there were no more arrests, but Hutchins was known to have flaunted her extramarital affairs. So she cheated a lot.
And then talked about it.
Yeah, she didn't. Okay. She didn't care who knew, but...
Well... I don't know if I'm on board with all that, girl, but...
Look, people live different lives. Not
Agreed.
If her... Oh, man, sorry. I know kids don't like that. If her boyfriend or whoever knew about it and he was fine with it, then it is what it is.
Right.
You live the life you're going to live. I don't know what else to say.
I wonder if the extramarital affairs tied into the prostitution, maybe? I don't but that tends to be more of a job and not...
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think it's two separate things. I think she did sex work on the side but had boyfriends other than her boyfriend. Okay. So I don't think they're referring to the same thing.
Okay.
Now, on January 5th, 1972, her husband and 2-year-old daughter watched her climb into a blue Datsun sedan, a strange man at the wheel, and vanish from their lives forever. In 1973, the search of Doris Schaefer's home revealed an address book containing the name, address, and phone number of Belinda's husband. Days later, he identified Schaefer's blue Datsun as the car that took Belinda on her last ride. No other trace of her was found, and no charges were ever filed.
So they identified the car, but then we're like, meh.
But think about all the evidence you have to have nowadays. You still had to have that back then, but it was harder to get.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably didn't have to have as much as today, but just somebody saying, that's the car, that's the guy, it's not enough. It wouldn't be enough today.
I know.
Unfortunately, cops aren't going to convict somebody with hopes. It has to be set.
I totally get it, but
I mean, it sucks. It does, and he's basically caught red-handed. But sometimes it's just out of reach. It happens. In Wilton Manor, Schaefer's proved himself as poorly suited for police work as he had been for the classroom. Surprising.
Yeah.
And Chief Bernard Scott told reporters, quote, he used poor judgment, did dumb things. I didn't want him around. Now, colleagues called Schaefer badge happy, obsessed with writing traffic tickets. Sounds like a Florida policeman, if I'm being honest.
Agreed.
Ex-FBI agent Robert Ressler claims that Schaefer stopped young women and asked them out on dates. Years later, detectives asserted that one of those women, never publicly identified, vanished forever soon after Patrolman Schaefer stopped her car. Now, Chief Scott was ready to fire Schaefer on March 16, 1972, when Schaefer surprised him by winning a commendation for a drug arrest. It saved his job, but only briefly. The, quote, dumb mistakes continued, and Scott called him in for their last talk on April 19th. I think he set up that drug arrest.
Yeah, probably.
To get that commendation. That's my theory. Now, Schaefer begged for another chance, quote, almost with tears in his eyes, and as Scott relented. The next day, Scott learned that Schaefer had applied for a job with the Broward County Sheriff's Department, and he fired Schaefer on the spot. There would be no Broward County badge for Schaefer, but we don't call him the killer cop for nothing. Now, he failed the department's mandatory psychological exam and was rejected. Now, I want to stop here what I'm reading and just remind you, this is the man who murdered, mutilated, and fornicated with dead cows. Do you remember that?
I do.
Okay, this is this guy. I am not surprised that he failed the psychological exam.
Yeah.
That just doesn't shock me.
It would shock me if he did.
I just had to point that out because that's all I can now. That is all I can associate with this man.
Yeah.
You know, I have some statements I could make, but they're not very appropriate. So the applications to other local departments had Chief Scott's telephone ringing off the hook in Wilton Manors. He later recalled, quote, "I told them I would put on a uniform and walk the streets myself before I would have him back." Fair.
Good man.
On June 30th, 1972, Schaefer was hired by Sheriff Richard Crowder in Martin County. Now, he came with a glowing letter of recommendation from Chief Bernard Scott of the Wilton Manors PD, but just a month later, Crowder checked the letter out and discovered it was a forgery.
Yeah, I would think
because there is no way.
He'd be like, yeah, he's a great guy, but I want him to work absolutely nowhere. No.
There's just no way.
No.
Oh, man. Nobody knows for sure why, but it was at this time that Schaefer got bored of killing victims singly. He later wrote that, quote, "doing doubles is far more difficult than doing singles, but on the other hand, it also puts one in a position to have twice as much fun."
Oh my God. Oh my God. Nope.
I don't even know. Because I know the things that he did, and it's just creepy to hear that he put it that way.
And like, if you're into true crime, you know that most serial killers or most just murderers in general tend to shy away
from talking about it.
From two people.
Oh, from double victims? Yeah.
Yeah. From a crime with two victims. Like, it's messy. It's a lot. It's like, you can only imagine, like, you're trying to struggle with one. Like, what's...
Well, that's where the deviltry comes in.
Oh, Jesus.
That's where we get the story of that from. And we'll find out when you read that next week.
Yay.
Now, there can be some lively discussions about which of the victims will get to be killed first. When you have a pair of... I'm going to read this. This is obviously not my feelings of any of this.
Okay.
So I'm just going to let you know. I'm going to read this, but this isn't me. When you have a pair of teenage bimbos bound hand and foot and ready for a session with the skinning knife, neither one of the little devils wants to be the one to go first, and they don't mind telling you quickly why their best friend should be the one to die.
Oh, God.
So he wasn't just taking two girls. He was taking best friends.
Like sisters. Like people super connected in life.
I can't remember if there were any sisters, but I know he would take best friends and he would play a little game where he would make them plead for him to kill the other one and let them go. And then he did other things to them that we'll get into at some point. Not yet. He's gross. He's really gross. He is a really gross guy. We cannot for sure know when Schaefer started doing doubles, as he called it. 7 years after the fact, his name was linked to the disappearance of 21-year-old Nancy Lechner and 20-year-old Pamela Nader, Pinellas County residents who vanished on a 1966 picnic trip in the Ocala National Forest.
Hey, we know where that is.
I grew up going there. I grew up going to the Ocala National Forest, because anybody wants to know, I grew up in Ocala, Florida.
I lived there for 5 years, and that is where we met.
Yeah, and
wow,
he did some stuff. Now, the case remains unsolved, of course, and both women are still missing. A better case exists for Schaefer's involvement in the murders of 9-year-old Peggy Rand and 8-year-old Wendy Stevenson in Pompano Beach. Both vanished from their beach home on December 29th, 1970. Literal just children.
9 and 8.
Children. Little children.
Oh my God.
A day later, a clerk at a nearby convenience store reported a man buying ice cream for 2 young girls on the previous afternoon. That clerk identified photos of Peggy and Wendy, describing their companion as a white man in his 20s, 6 feet tall, around 200 pounds, dead ringer for Gerard John Schaefer. Now, the girls remain missing, and Schaefer was never charged, though prosecutors publicly accused him of the crime in 1973. Schaefer denied the slayings publicly, but later confessed in a letter dated April 19th, 1989.
Wow.
But this is all right. So this is another aside note for him, is that it's been proven that like he's faked a lot of information, and he's left out stuff. He's lied about things, so he's like added things in, but left out the truth. And so with him, he's a real charming dude. Like he's a good talker.
Right.
Like he's like a Ted Bundy, you know, which if we remember, Ted Bundy drew inspiration from him.
Right.
You know, so like it's hard to know what he did and didn't do. It's hard. He's just one of those people. And a lot of serial killers are those kind of people. They're charming. That's how they get away with this stuff.
Yeah. How they lure people in.
Yep. And
that's how they get them to trust them, to go with them, to, you know, befriend them, I guess.
It's when you have that kind of charm about you, people tend to trust you, which is how these serial killers back in the day got away with this stuff, because you know, they have that gift of gab, and they don't come across as evil or, you know, they don't seem threatening, but they are. And that's, you know,
that's the terrifying part.
When I was a kid, I specifically don't really remember people talking to me about the dangers of strangers. Stuff we talk about now.
Stranger danger.
It's because of stuff like this.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, they never knew that these people were bad people until they got caught. Everybody would say that they're good people. Now, Schaefer here, he didn't have the best record, don't get me wrong, but people still liked him.
Yeah.
You know, until he creeped them out. Now, he wrote, quote, "I'm annoyed by all this murder talk. Peggy and Wendy just happened along at a time when I was curious about 1930s cannibal Albert Fish's craving for the flesh of young girls. I assure you, these girls were not molested. I found both of them very satisfactory, particularly with sauteed onions and peppers."
Oh my God.
So he's claiming to have eaten them.
Oh my God.
And I mean, we all know who Albert Fish is. He's like the OG cannibal.
Yeah. If you don't know who Albert Fish is, do not look him up. It is so gross.
If you don't know who he is, you should look him up.
It's so gross.
He's disgusting.
He's so bad.
He's besides Dahmer, he is probably the most famous cannibal case. And he did. I'll never cover him. I mean, there's every true crime podcast in the world has covered him. You can go listen to anybody. I would suggest Last Podcast on the Left. They did a great episode on it. Very demented dude from the 30s, and people trusted him. Here we go. Was charming. He came across, people called him a friendly old grandfatherly figure and would let their kids go off with him.
And those were his victims for the most part.
And those were his victims.
Yeah.
The Schaefer was free on bond, awaiting trial for the Trotter Wells abduction in Martin County, when his next known victims were murdered on September 27, 1972. The double slaying of Susan Place and Georgia Jessup would land him in prison for life and would be the only murders for which he was ever actually tried.
What?
The only ones.
2?
Yeah.
That's it?
Yes, and if you go back to our first episode, I believe at some point I put up the picture of those girls. Those are the only 2 girls, the only 2 people that he was tried and convicted for.
That is terrifying.
So that's what I can't remember if he's dead or not now. I don't remember. But those are the only ones that he got caught up on, which is crazy to me because he has himself admitted. He admitted to doing other crimes.
Right.
But again, it's that burden of you have to have evidence. It's just how the legal system works. And these people, they're not stupid. They know how to get away with stuff. And not only that, but he was law enforcement. So he really did have an in with being able to make evidence disappear. And, you know, they're not stupid people, unfortunately.
Terrifying.
If they were, they would never get anywhere.
God.
Less than 4 weeks after Place and Jessup vanished on October 23rd, 14-year-olds Mary Alice Briscolina and Elise Lena Farmer were added to the missing persons list. Farmer's family reported her missing on October 24th, while Briskelina's waited another week, assuming she had run away from home. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Now, Farmer's skeletal remains were found on January 17th, 1973, just 8 days after Schaefer went to jail at a construction site near Plantation High School. My brother used to live in Plantation, right near the high school. Now, Briskelina was found a month later on February 15th, just 200 yards away. Both girls were identified by their dental records.
Oh my God. So she wasn't found for a while, but was only 200 yards away.
Yeah.
Wow.
We just didn't have the technology back then that we have now.
It's 2 football fields, which is, if you think about it.
It's not that far.
It's really not that far, but it is kind of far.
I guess.
If it's in like wilderness.
I mean, yes, they would have to walk a little bit, I suppose. Now, following the April search of Dora Schaefer's home, Farmer's relatives were able to identify a piece of jewelry taken from the murdered girl. Schaefer was never charged with those murders, but he later admitted to the crimes in a letter referring to one of his published stories titled, quote, Murder Demons. On April 9th, 1991, he wrote, "What crimes am I supposed to confess? Farmer? Briskelina? What do you think Murder Demons is? Fiction? You want confessions, but you don't recognize them when I anoint you with them."
Ew.
He loves himself.
Ew.
He loves himself.
I do not like that.
He loves himself. You can tell
That's gross.
by the way he writes things that, like, he's very amused with him. Like, he really likes himself.
Ew.
And that
was
I
really...
find that gross. Now, Schaefer was sentenced for the Trotter Wells assault in December 1972, but he did not actually enter jail until January 15th of 1973. 1 week earlier, 19-year-old Iowa residents Colette Goodenough, man, that's a crazy last name.
Good enough.
And Barbara Ann Wilcox left Biloxi, Mississippi, hitchhiking to Florida. Now, no trace of either girl was seen until April, when searchers found evidence of their fate in Schaefer's stash, of course. Among the items retrieved were Barbara's driver's license, along with Colette's passport, diary, and a book of poems. Now, skeletal remains of both victims were found in Port St. Lucie in January 1977, but no cause of death could be found, and no charges were ever filed. How he constantly gets away with stuff.
I don't understand that, but I also don't understand, like, where it said it was December when he was charged, but didn't go to jail until January. So if they would have just put him in jail, these 2 women would be alive.
Yes. But, dude, this is what I'm saying. Like, you want to be like, these people are stupid. But they're not. They're so intelligent that, like...
It's scary.
Yeah, because
it's so scary.
They literally can get away with murder. Literally. They do it. He did it. I don't know, 8 times now. We all know he did it. But again, we need the evidence. But don't ever think that these people are, dumb. They're not dumb.
Right.
They are very smart, which is how they get away with it, unfortunately. Now, Teresa Schaefer made her one and only prison visit on November 17th, 1973, to serve Gerard with divorce papers.
Yeah, girl.
Now, outside the walls, reporters trumpeted that lawyer Elton Schwartz, age 45, was dating Schaefer's 21-year-old wife. I don't care.
No.
He also handled Teresa's divorce, and they would be married on November 30th, with Schwartz announcing that his client had suggested the arrangement. So Schaefer.
Oh,
okay.
Weird. Okay.
Whatever, man.
What?
Now, better for her.
Yeah, for sure, but, like, that's weird.
It is weird. Now, inmate Schaefer, unfazed by it all, maintained correspondence with Schwartz for several years afterwards, waiting nearly a decade to charge the attorney with illegal malpractice. Meanwhile, Schaefer was busy exposing another conspiracy, claiming that he had been framed by drug-dealing lawmen and Martin County prosecutors. This dude is delusional.
Yeah, okay.
In Schaefer's new story, he was framed for killing, quote, 2 narcotics informants because he refused to play ball with powerful drug lords. Ironically, one of Robert Stone's aides was convicted of drug trafficking in the 1980s, but no evidence linked the case to Schaefer's crimes, of course, because he's making it up.
Yeah.
Schaefer would ultimately file 19 separate appeals, but each one of them was dismissed.
Yeah, I bet.
In 1987, a judge went on to say, quote, "There has to be an end, a conclusion to litigation and to the abuse of the judicial process. The defendant should realize once and for all, the die is cast, the mold is made, the loaf is baked. Therefore, the judgment is final and forever."
Hey, I like him.
That's a real FU from the judge, and I like it. I love it.
That.
Now, these were strong words strengthened by a state parole board ruling that Schaefer was ineligible for release before February 2017. But still, the hopeless lawsuits continued at the public's expense. But Schaefer would find other ways to amuse himself. In 1979, he declared himself, quote, married to a Filipina, quote, picture bride. Now, the young woman appeared in July 1980 and moved in with Schaefer's father. A marriage license materialized, sans ceremony, and was accepted by authorities at Avon Park's minimum security prison. Several, quote, contact visits were permitted, you know what that means, before Schaefer's wife got her green card in 1985 and dropped him like a proverbial hot potato.
Good job, girl.
Because she was like, yo, he's gross.
Yeah.
And I know what he did. Now, a few weeks later, in September 1985, Schaefer was accused of plotting an escape from Avon Park and murder a hit list of victims, including his ex-wife, Elton Schwartz, Robert Stone, and Judge Tobridge. Now, state police confirmed the plot, and Schaefer was sent off to the maximum security at Stark, home of Florida's death row.
Bye. See ya. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Now, despite being closely watched, Schaefer still managed to run a mail fraud operation from his prison cell, collaborating with cohorts outside to post ads in sex magazines, soliciting money from various kinky tricks. To that end, Schaefer adopted various pseudonyms, always female.
So gross. Which, that leads back to when he was a kid, and he always wanted to be a girl.
Yeah.
Because of the way his dad treated his sister and not him.
Absolutely.
Wow.
It's always a full circle with these guys.
So gross.
It's always a full circle. Now, he became Mistress Felice, a dominatrix, a prostitute Jessica Zuriaga, stern matron Miller, a husband killer on death row, and so on. Now, some of his slaves paid cash for the privilege of washing Mistress Felice's soiled panties, delivered by mail for a price. Schaefer also enjoyed writing to inmates at other prisons, posing as the great love of their lives, all while laughing behind their backs.
Oh my God, he is deranged.
Now, you will get offed for that kind of stuff.
Oh, what?
It's not a good idea.
Oh my God.
Now, one such inmate awaiting trial for murder told Schaefer where his victim's body could be found, and Schaefer relayed the directions to police, landing his client on death row. It was a deadly game, perhaps an extension of his childhood death wish, and he played it recklessly, as if he was untouchable. In 1986, collaborating with police from North Miami, Schaefer created the identity of D.D. Kelly, a 14-year-old prostitute who offered nude photos to pedophiles.
14.
But hold on. Responses to his ads were collected by U.S. postal inspectors, but none of Schaefer's correspondents were prosecuted. He basically tried to Chris Hansen people. But maybe that's a bad comparison. Chris Hansen doesn't send nudes.
No.
But he's trying to help. The police are getting him to help them nab.
You shut your mouth.
I guess some words I am going to have to edit out for the video, but
Pick someone else.
Yeah.
Please.
Well,
9 and an 8-year-old, I remind you.
It's 1986. I'm surprised they even care at this point.
Right.
So, I mean, good on them, I guess.
Well, I don't.
Now, instead, authorities discovered he was working with another inmate, Mervyn Cross, to run a child pornography network from prison. Cross paid Schaefer's father a monthly stipend for use of his telephone line to communicate with Filipino colleagues. Prosecutors convicted Cross, adding time to his sentence at Stark, but no charges were ever filed against the Schaefers. these people are untouchable.
This is ridiculous.
Even as the DD sting collapsed, Schaefer would have his first run-in with condemned killer Ted Bundy. Now, according to Schaefer, quote, Bundy was always 100% respectful of me. I treated him as a supplicant, while others were hanging on his every word. Now, Bundy allegedly confessed that he had been inspired by Schaefer's case to kill 2 victims on a single day in 1974.
Oh my God.
So he's even responsible for that. Bad guy. With Bundy, Schaefer debated such fine points of murder as, quote, the maggot problem and techniques of cleaning upholstery after dying victims urinated in their cars. Another, sometimes confidant of Schaefer, was self-described cannibal Otis Toole. Do you know who that is?
I feel like I do.
Bad guy. He's a bad guy. Sentenced to life for 6 murders. Now, Toole was suspected of many more, most notably the 1981 kidnapping of young Adam Walsh.
Yes. Okay. I do know who he is.
Yeah. I guess kidnap and slaying. But yeah. By 1988, when he met Schaefer, Toole had several times confessed to Walsh's murder, always recanting his statement when detectives asked for proof. Schaefer wrote to Adam's father, John Walsh, host of America's Most Wanted for you younger folks. It was a TV show that was on when we were kids. Posing as Toole and demanding $50,000 for Adam's remains, quote, so you can get them buried all decent and Christian.
Ew.
Dude,
that is disrespectful.
He's been talked about a lot, but we may talk about him in the future. Because he's another really, it's disgusting. Now, Walsh ignored the offer, and Toole soon soured on Schaefer's mercenary attentions. Aside from the sadistic pleasure of tormenting Adam's parents, Schaefer gained nothing from the episode except a new addendum to his reputation as a snitch. He's a snitch. Schaefer lost an admirer on January 24th, 1989, when Ted Bundy kept his long-delayed date with Florida's electric chair. Around the same time, ex-girlfriend Sandy Stewart, now divorced mother Sandra London, picked up a copy of Anne Rule's The Stranger Beside Me, detailing Rule's relationship or friendship with Bundy, and decided to write a book on her relationship with Schaefer. London wrote to Schaefer on February 8th, 1989, asking, quote, remember me? She pitched the notion of a book about your experiences, quote, and requested samples of his writing. Now, this lady is a very problematic character. I'm not going to get into why, but if you want, it's worth looking up. She's problematic. We'll just say that.
I feel like she's trying to poke a bear.
It goes deeper than that. Like, really, you should, when we get done, you should look her up. She's very problematic, and she's just not good. Now, Schaefer responded enthusiastically, touting his case as, quote, virgin territory, adding, quote, naturally, I'm favorably disposed toward someone who has known me intimately. He recalled London as, quote, a former great love of my life and denied any hostility over their breakup. Now, at their first prison meeting, London found Schaefer transformed into a, quote, a neebish, portly, pale, balding, and half-blind. He reminded her of a middle-aged, desk-bound clerk gone to seed. Again, look her up.
What?
There's a lot behind this lady and her connection to him and Ted Bundy. She's just not a good person. In my opinion. I know that some people, whatever, I'm not going to get into it. Now, there was nothing soft about Schaefer's stories, though. They sported macabre titles such as, quote, Blonde on a Stick and, quote, Flies in Her Eyes. Between March and May 1989, Schaefer sent London 7 grisly tales. She added drawings and fragments of writing seized from Doris Schaefer's home in 1973, releasing the lot as a volume of killer fiction in June 1969. Now, a second book would soon follow, along with independent stories, poems, sketches, and a, quote, killer serial that aimed to, quote, satirize Schaefer's own case. The leading character, a rogue cop who slaughters prostitutes in his spare time.
Oh,
this is what I'm saying.
God.
He loves himself. He absolutely loves himself, and he thinks he's I think in his mind, he's created this world where he's doing something good somehow. I don't know. It's
What?
really, he's a very interesting case because like his mind is it's very interesting.
Why did she have to add drawings?
Well, I mean, everybody who writes serial killer stuff usually gets some of their stuff and puts it in there. I mean, John Wayne Gacy was very well known for that, like his self-portraits and stuff.
That's true.
However, a guard examined Schaefer's work and deemed it, quote, pornographic filth, confiscating the latest manuscript as contraband, unsuitable for a prisoner. Now, the work was released after Florida's Attorney General admitted the stories played a role in Schaefer's latest legal appeal, but Schaefer himself was forbidden from keeping a copy in prison. Now, critics in the press and prosecutor's office branded killer fiction a, quote, blueprint for murder, masking details of Schaefer's own crimes in the guise of entertainment. Schaefer worked hard to impress his ex-lover. On one hand, he claimed to be innocent, framed by drug-dealing cops and attorneys who feared his integrity, casting himself in a martyr's role. He said, quote, I let Satan get control of me. I hated evil. I wanted to destroy evil. I went and immersed myself in the battle, but destroyed myself in the process. God saved me by allowing me to be framed by corrupt people, unquote. He really thinks he's a hero.
I can't even begin to tell you how much of a disgusting human that makes you.
Well, I mean, obviously.
Oh,
that's why we're talking about him.
And of course, like, it's everybody else's fault.
He truly,
get out of here, dude.
I don't know if this is a persona that he's come up with or if he truly feels this way.
Right.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But if you read a lot of the things that he writes like that, you would think that he might actually believe this. But I don't know him. I don't know enough about him. But when I read the things that he writes, I truly do believe that he believes these things. But I'm
Either
not
way,
sure.
I hate it.
I mean, he's a very hateable person. Come on. Now, a week later, he wrote, quote, my battle has been to overcome the problem. I believe I have accomplished this through Jesus Christ. He also added, quote, my own personal belief in Jesus assures me of my future as a child of God, but that does not excuse me from helping my fellow man, unquote. And this spurs my issue with religion right here. How can you do things like this and then just be forgiven and you go to heaven and everything's all good? Because by, religious standards, he could just be like, I'm sorry for everything that I did and wash it away and boom, boom, you go to heaven. I can't live in that world. I'm sorry. It doesn't make sense to me.
No comment.
Now, on March 21st, 1989, he wrote, quote, I am factually a captain of the Dixie Mafia. I have factually the power to have you killed. I have, in the past, used these powers. 3 days later, he also added, quote, I am a syndicate man. When I put on my sub-chief's hat, I am Don El Tigre, and I can scare the living shit out of you, unquote. I don't know, dude. He's wild.
Okay.
He's wild.
What? Whatever, Schaefer.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how to feel about this. I feel like he's got a bit of L. Ron Hubbard in him. Because L. Ron Hubbard wrote science fiction, and it seems like this isn't science fiction, but he's writing like this dramatized world where he is this mafia member or like rogue cop, defender hero. But I don't know if it's just all BS or if he believes it.
I think it's a little bit of both. I would think.
I think he believes it when it's beneficial for him.
Agreed. But I think like when it's more of the far-fetched fiction is maybe when he would add more real life things.
I guess. I have no idea.
Because this dude is super twisted.
Well, I think he adds more real life things when he starts to become less relevant. When he starts to fade, where his name isn't as scary to people anymore. And he's like, oh, let me remind you of some other things that I might have done. So I don't know.
Gross.
Now, Schaefer would never stop with claims of mob connections. Schaefer also insisted on January 20th, 1991, quote, I am the top serial killer, and I can prove it. He was an expert hangman, Schaefer wrote, dispatching victims, quote, so quickly that they wouldn't even pee on the rope, unquote. He's also a hangman, just so you know. He does terrible things.
Oh, my God.
Now, furthermore, he added, quote, I never at any time required more than 2 strokes to behead a woman. Never. I was absolutely skilled at it. Now, Schaefer was vague on numbers, but once estimated his body count somewhere between 80 and 110 victims.
Oh, my God.
I believe it. I do believe it. Again, I'm going to...
He was like still young when he got caught, right?
Yeah, he's pretty young through all this, yeah.
That is so disturbing.
I'm going to read this next part again. These are not my feelings. These are his quotes, because I would never say this. Quote, one whore drowned in her own vomit while watching me disembowel her girlfriend. He smirked at this. Quote, I'm not sure that counts as a valid kill. Did the pregnant ones count as 2 kills? It can get confusing. Always, though, he balked at the notion of sex as a motive. Quote, I did not have sex problems, Schaefer wrote on March 22nd, 1989.
You are delusional.
Because once we get into his crimes, it does seem these were motivated in that way. Quote, a problem means you are unhappy or discontented. And again, on April 9th, 1991, quote, a sex killer I was not. I am unique. I guarantee it. Killer fiction and its sequels flopped commercially, leaving London short of cash in early 1991. And on January 18th, Schaefer proposed marriage, noting that his wife could not be forced to testify, quote, even if I were to show you a basket of severed heads. Okay. Now, the next day, he reconsidered, blaming London for his crimes. He wrote, quote, I will tell you here and now that plenty of your women died because you couldn't help me solve my various crises in 1965. I tried to tell you about it, but you couldn't deal with it. You bolted, abandoned me. That's when it started, unquote.
Because someone else can't handle your crazy shit?
He's trying to shift the blame. He's trying to make it about somebody else.
Like, take it off your
But how many times does he need to admit to things and nothing happens? At this point, I mean, if he says he did it, he probably did it. So just
slap it all on. Just
exactly.
pile it up.
The prison officials began intercepting these letters between Schaefer and London in March 1991. On May 16th, guards opened a letter and discovered outlines for new stories. They filed a disciplinary report, and Schaefer spent 30 days in solitary for, quote, conspiracy to conduct a business from his cell. You can't do that. Mm-hmm. With book sales stagnant, London sought new avenues of income. Producers for the television show A Current Affair offered her $1,000 for a segment on Schaefer. Reluctantly, Schaefer agreed to an interview with reporter Steve Dunleavy. In place of his, quote, frame-up defense, though viewers heard London proclaim, quote, he was normal, except he had a compulsion to kill, unquote. He's not normal.
I don't know about that.
He's not normal.
No.
Now, Robert Stone branded Schaefer, quote, one of America's worst serial killers ever. Dunleavy called Schaefer a, quote, monster and a diseased specimen.
Oh, I like that.
Closing the segment with a prayer that Schaefer, quote, find his hell on earth. Now, Schaefer would write to London, quote, we're through, after viewing the program. Quote, you've taped a black hole of genuine rage and it's focused on you. Just never speak my name to anyone, anywhere, ever again. I've met a number of people from the Satanist underground. To express my appreciation for what you've said, I've explained to them about your daughter. They'll probably get in touch with her personally. If you want to make an issue of this, then the kid is gonna be the one to pay the tab. Am I clear?
Gerard Schaefer was found guilty of killing Georgia Jessup, 17, and Susan Place, 16, both of Broward County, whose mutilated and decapitated remains were discovered in April 1973 in shallow graves near Blind Creek Beach, on Hutchinson Island near Fort Pierce. Authorities believe Jessup and Place were murdered between September 27th and December 7th of 1972. Their remains were found while Schaefer was serving a 6-month sentence at the Martin County Jail for assaulting 2 girls, one 17 and the other 18.
He clearly has a type.
Yes.
And his type is normally teenage girls.
Mm-hmm.
There are cases where it was discovered that they believe he was responsible for the 2 little girls. But that was for something completely different,
right,
where he claimed to had tried cannibalism. So bear that in mind. All of his victims are they're teenage girls.
Yeah.
Which I think is even more atrocious. Like, it's bad enough to do this kind of thing, but you target children. Children are your target. And that, to me, is...
literally the worst?
It is the worst.
Literally the worst. In the assault case, Schaefer pleaded guilty to picking up the women while they were hitchhiking, bringing them to a wooded area in Hutchinson Island, tying nooses around their necks and threatening them with bizarre sexual acts. It was on July 21st, 1972, that Schaefer picked up 2 hitchhikers, 17-year-old Pamela Wells and 18-year-old Nancy Trotter, on the highway near a local beach. He would lie to them, telling them that hitchhiking was illegal in Martin County, then drove them back to a halfway house where they were staying. Schaefer offered to meet them the next morning while off duty and drive them to the beach himself. The girls agreed, but instead of taking them to the beach on July 22nd, Schaefer drove them to swampy Hutchinson Island off State Road A1A. There, he started making sexual remarks, then drew his gun and told the girls he planned to sell them as, quote, white slaves to a foreign prostitution syndicate. Forcing them out of the car, he bound both girls and left them balanced on tree roots with nooses around their necks, putting them at risk of hanging if they slipped and fell.
Why so descriptive of your white slaves?
I don't know.
It's such a weird thing to say.
It is such a weird thing.
I really feel like at gunpoint with nooses around their neck tied to a tree, that's probably the least of their worries.
Agreed.
I mean,
absolutely agreed.
With this sick... Yeah, good. He's so gross.
Yeah. Schaefer then left them there, promising to return shortly. But the girls escaped while he was gone and reached the highway, where they flagged down a passing police car. They had no problem identifying their assailant, since Schaefer had told them his name.
Idiot.
By that time, Schaefer had discovered their escape and telephoned Sheriff Richard Crowder. Quote, "I've done something foolish," Schaefer told his boss. "You're going to be mad at me," end quote. He had overdone his job, Schaefer said, trying to scare the girls out of hitchhiking in the future for their own good. Fired on the spot, charged with false imprisonment, 2 counts of aggravated assault, Schaefer was released on a $15,000 bond. It was during this time that on September 27th, 1972, while Schaefer was free on bond, pending trial, 17-year-old Susan Place and 16-year-old Georgia Jessup had vanished from Fort Lauderdale. Susan's parents said the girls were last seen at her house, leaving with an older man named Jerry Shepard on their way to play guitar at a nearby beach. They never came back, but Lucille Place had noticed Schaefer's license plate number, along with a description of his blue-green Datsun. It was March 25th, 1973, before sluggish investigators traced the plate number back to Schaefer, by which time he was already in jail for assaulting the teenage girls.
I want to point something out here. If they would have originally kept him in jail for the first thing that he did, none of these other girls would have come up missing.
Abso-freaking-lutely.
Because they let him out on, and I mean, honestly, for abducting 2 teenage girls. $15,000 bond. That's not very much.
That is so minuscule for the crime.
But they let him out.
Right.
And because of that, we have a bunch
so many more that
of missing
didn't
teenage girls
need to happen.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, none of them did.
If they would have just kept him in, I'm not saying they had to throw the book at him, but just kept him in until like a trial date or whatever. I understand it's, it's fair, but in hindsight, it really sucks knowing that had they just kept him a little longer, that none of this other stuff would have happened.
Absolutely.
Because I think not all, but the majority of his crimes happened during this time.
It's so terrifying. So terrifying.
I mean, this is what do they call it? There's serial killers have this thing where they have like a cool down
period.
But then they have, I forget what they call it when they go out killing, but like he went out on like a murderous rage.
So gross.
Yeah, it's bad.
Now, Schaefer denied any contact with Place and Jessup, but the case began unraveling on April 1st, 1973, when skeletal remains were found on Hutchinson Island by 3 men collecting aluminum cans. 4 days later, the victims were identified from dental records. Susan Place had been shot in the jaw. Detectives remarking that evidence from the crime scene indicated the 2 girls were, quote, tied to a tree and butchered, end quote. On April 7th, police searched the home of Schaefer's mother, where Gerard had personal items stored in a spare bedroom.
All right, real quick. This is, we had mentioned this, I think, in the last episode, possibly. I know we mentioned this before, how the police went to his parents' house.
Yeah.
We are going to get almost like a full list of what was found.
Oh, God.
And some of it's really bizarre. Some of it's really weird.
I mean, I get the trophy. I don't get it.
This isn't, I'm not talking about trophies.
Okay. Just random crap?
He's a creator.
Oh.
He likes to make stuff.
I don't like that.
Well, he's more of like an artist, let's say.
Okay.
And a writer. He's also a writer.
Yeah, well, we learned that.
Yeah, we're going to find out what he writes about. I'm going to be honest though, I couldn't actually find, even though the book exists, without buying the book, I couldn't actually find any of the writings. I can't find any of the pictures. I don't understand why, but like I did search. I searched pretty hard, but I couldn't find any of it.
Evidence recovered in the search included a stash of women's jewelry, newspaper clippings about 2 women that had been missing since 1969, and pieces of IDs belonging to vanished hitchhikers, Colette Goodenough and Barbara Wilcox, both 19.
That's good enough.
We already talked about these women.
Can't help it.
The 2 girls had last been seen alive on January 8th, a week before Schaefer was sent to jail in Martin County. And while their skeletal remains were found in early 1977, no cause of death could be determined. Thus, no charges were ever filed. As for the newspaper clippings, one referred to the February 1969 disappearance of waitress Carmen Halleck, seemingly abducted from her home. Items of her jewelry were found in Schaefer's stash, along with a gold-filled tooth identified by Halleck's dentist. But once again, no charges were filed.
Another thing I want to touch on real quick is this Carmen Halleck. I actually feel really bad for her family. They still have websites up looking for information about her.
Oh my God.
I believe it's called like findcarmenhalleck.com or something like that, but her family is still, I mean, this is 55 years ago, something like that. They are still looking.
All those poor
for
people.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty terrible.
Yeah.
I felt pretty bad when I saw it, if I'm being honest.
Oh my God. The second missing woman, Lee Bonadies, had been a neighbor of Schaefer's when she disappeared in September 1969. He had complained of her taunting him by undressing with her curtains open, and a piece of her jewelry was also found among his belongings. But of course, no charges were filed when her skeletal remains were finally recovered in 1978.
Now, more jewelry linked Schaefer to the disappearance of 14-year-old Mary Briscolina. who vanished from Broward County with 13-year-old Elsie Farmer in October 1972. Their skeletons were found in early 1973, but again, no cause of death could be determined, and no charges were ever filed.
How many times have we heard that already?
It's so bad.
Too many. Way too many. One is too many.
And 1,000 is never enough.
Oh, my God. That's not where I was going, but okay.
If you know, you know. Inside that locked bedroom at the Fort Lauderdale residence of Schaefer's mother's home, police found 300 pages of lurid stories. Occasionally accompanied by crude illustrations, Schaefer had both handwritten and typed over the course of several years. He's a creator.
Oh, God.
These stories detailed the kidnapping, humiliation, essay, and execution by hanging of a number of teenage girls and young women whom he routinely referred to as, quote, whores, sluts, and harlots, including two named Belinda and Carmen, and an unidentified woman whom he graphically described hanging at an unknown location close to Powerline Road. And he kind of pushed these off as fiction.
No.
But they're very clearly about... They're not just about women. They're about specific women.
Who he had a hand in hurting.
He didn't have a hand in them. He did it.
And torturing.
He just did it.
And...
He did it. Now, several of these narratives indicate Schaefer had forced his victims to drink beverages, typically beer or wine. Because when I first read that, I was like, what, like motor oil or something? As they stood upon makeshift platforms with a noose around their necks so that he could observe them urinating prior to their hanging. This is a big thing for him. This is something that he's super into.
Stop it.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, he had frequently returned to his crime scenes weeks or months after the actual murders in order to commit acts of necrophilia with buried and dismembered bodies, or to extract teeth from the skull. His writings also revealed his fascination with historical methods of torture and execution, and the pleasure he derived from observing acutely distressed females urinate and or defecate prior to or at the end of their hanging. That's really hard to read.
Oh my God.
It's really gross.
Who even thinks of these things?
It's
like,
okay. Well, look, I'm just gonna be real. Okay, if you're an adult, which I hope you are listening to this, you've been on the internet. You've been to, or at least know of, adult websites. We'll say that. Mm-hmm. There are honestly categories for people that are into this stuff. So I mean, it's not something that I'm into or anything, but he's not the only person who's maybe not right before they're about to be hanged or anything, but there is a category for these people.
Fine.
And no kink shame.
Like,
if you're into,
kinks,
that's fine.
I get it. But like when you're doing it in the middle of trying to torture and murder these people.
But that's his thing.
That is.
It's the reason the world has snuff films, because there are people out there that are into this kind of stuff.
I don't get it.
It's really gross.
It is so gross.
It's hard to read because to us it seems so out there, right?
Yeah.
So, but I have to say again, I have to qualify this with, he's not the only one that's into this kind of, but he is the only one out there
actively doing it.
I can't even say he's the only one out there actively doing it, because he inspired other people to do it. It's just really, it's really disgusting. It's really hard. Yeah. This is why I had to put in our last video, like I had to explain, like I'm always smiling and laughing and stuff, because a lot of this stuff makes me very uncomfortable.
It is so uncomfortable.
It makes me really uncomfortable, and that's just how I deal with that, is like I tend to try to laugh it off.
Just kind of got to power through it.
But it is hard. It is hard to get through some of this stuff, and I am going to pass it back over to you to get through the worst of it, so you can do it.
Yay!
Now, also found were 11 guns, bags filled with live and spent cartridges, 13 hunting knives, sections of rope, and scores of softcore adult content magazines, which he had modified to depict nude, urinating women bound with ropes, hanging from trees or other makeshift gallows, or bearing bullet wounds. Now, other images recovered were 37 black and white Polaroid photographs depicting women being hanged and or mutilated. Several other images depicted Shaefer dressed in a female garment, simulating his own hanging from a tree with fecal matter smeared across his own buttocks. So now we're finding out that he's in... but look, I want to make a point, though, because last week you made a point to say this. When he was a kid, he wanted to be a girl.
Yeah, because of the way his father treated his sister.
Clearly has affected him over time, because now he's dressing as a woman and doing things he's obviously doing things to himself too. So yeah.
Okay.
It's weird. It's so weird. Gerard Schaefer, you're a weird dude.
Yeah.
Now, a letter dated July 20th, 1971, from an individual in Brunswick, East Victoria, Australia, whom Schaefer had become acquainted with in Morocco in the summer of 1970, remember, because he used to travel, contained scores of Polaroid images this individual had taken of a, quote, village in the Sahara the two had encountered, following what his companion termed a, quote, wog massacre. Now, I'm very aware that that word is like a racial slur, I think, over in England. But this is all factual information of both Europeans and Arabians. Now, several of these images depicted women who had been extensively disemboweled and otherwise mutilated with knives and axes. These are real pictures. So it makes me wonder, did he, they said that they believed he had more victims on other continents, and I wonder if these are victims of theirs and not just
that he has pictures of.
Well, because I think the way they tried to play it off was that, like, this guy stumbled across a massacre and photographed it. But I wonder. I
don't believe that.
I don't either. I don't. But we're never going to know for sure. And I don't think anything ever happened to this friend either, which he was clearly there and he was clearly into it.
Oh my God.
So I'm not sure. And this stuff is like, you can't. This isn't like readily available stuff on the internet either. So it's strange. It's very strange.
Oh God. It's so weird. The April 6th search of Schaefer's Martin County residence yielded less physical evidence, although investigators did recover 2 human teeth kept in a plastic capsule inside the master bedroom, several knives and firearms inside a utility shed, and an extensively blood-stained white pillowcase, which had evidently been washed. Jessup's distinctive suede purse was discovered to have been in the possession of Schaefer's wife. She later informed police her husband had given her the item as a gift in about November of the previous year. Schaefer had attempted to persuade both her and his brother-in-law, Henry Dean, to discard the item upon learning of the April 1st discoveries in Oak Hammock Park, with the explanation the police may have used the item to make up some kind of evidence against him. Despite Schaefer's efforts, his brother-in-law had given them to the police.
So he tried to convince his wife and her brother to lie about it, and the brother-in-law was not having that.
He's like, no, bro.
And weird, because I remember when I first saw this, they talk about this blood-stained pillowcase, but there's really no other information about it. But this is also the days before DNA testing.
Yeah, DNA and like super in-depth testing.
Wonder if they ever tested it, like, because I'm sure they still have it somewhere.
Yeah.
And who does it belong to?
It'd be very interesting to know.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try to see if I can find that actually.
Do like a little update later?
Well, because they test things like that years and years later. That's why they save them.
Yep.
So I'm curious if it was ever discovered whose blood it was. Hey guys, Editing Steve here, and I just wanted to give the update that Megan just alluded to, but there is no update. I can find nothing on the majority of this stuff. I don't know if it was just because of the time frame, or I don't know. A lot of this stuff is super hard to find. If you know anything about it, or you can find anything, email me. I would love to know. But anyways, back to you, Megan.
The list of suspected victims would continue to grow over time. but Shaefer faced charges in only 2 murders. He was indicted on May 18, 1973, for the slayings of Jessup and Place. Held without bond pending trial, he was convicted on 2 counts of first-degree murder in October 1973, drawing concurrent terms of life imprisonment. Before his death, Gerard Schaefer was suspected of killing dozens of young women across South Florida and elsewhere. Family members of many of his victims felt their last chance to find out what happened to their loved ones died with him.
But one cop's passion to solve the case did not vanish when Schaefer, 49, died in 1995 in Florida State Prison, where he was serving 2 life sentences for murder. A Fort Lauderdale homicide detective, John Curcio, has been gathering information and sending it to the FBI's 5-year-old missing persons DNA database as a means to identify remains found around South Florida. Now, just to let you know, this is from an article I saw from 2005.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is quite a few years ago. I don't know if this detective is still around doing this.
Okay, gotcha.
But just so you know, this is written in 05. Now, Detective Curcio started working with the family of Deborah Sue Lowe, another of Schaefer's suspected victims. The 13-year-old was last seen at about 8:30 a.m. on a drizzly Tuesday as she walked to Rickards Middle School in Fort Lauderdale on February 29th, 1972, wearing black slacks with roses, a yellow blouse, and a tan poncho. It's very 70s.
Yeah.
Now, 3 of Debbie's siblings, Eva, James, and Cheryl, submitted DNA samples to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement's Missing Persons DNA database in the hopes that Debbie's remains would be matched. The Lowe family's DNA was also entered into the FBI's national database. Now, Curcio believed Schaefer, a former Wilton Manors police officer and Martin County Sheriff's deputy, abducted, tortured, murdered, and assaulted dozens of women across South Florida and other states in the late 60s and early 70s. Like Debbie, many of the missing have never been located. Quote, "We believe Schaefer is responsible for the murders of a lot of women," said Curcio, the veteran homicide detective. Quote, "We just have to find the families of his victims and get their DNA entered and compare it to all the unidentified remains sitting in medical examiners' offices."
He was on a mission, trying to close the cases of 2 young Fort Lauderdale women, Carmen Halleck, 22, and Belinda Hutchins, 22, who disappeared between 1968 and 1972. Curcio believes Schaefer is responsible for the murder of a 3rd Fort Lauderdale woman, Lee Bonadines Hainline, 25, who vanished in 1968. All had ties to Schaefer. When police executed the search warrant in 1973, they found jewelry, teeth, and other possessions belonging to each of the women. Police also found short stories in the home that Schaefer wrote about abduction, assault, and strangulation of young women, including a woman named Carmen.
He names these stories after the women. That's what is crazy and how they didn't use this against him. He has short stories that go into great detail about what he did with these girls' names on them, but they did nothing with them.
Literally nothing.
It is very upsetting.
It's so upsetting. Are you kidding me?
This is almost as good as a handwritten confession.
Agreed.
It's ridiculous.
Even the loudest that you yell, "Oh, it's fiction. No, it is not."
Clearly. It is,
no, it is
by
not.
name. It's crazy.
Okay. The Carmen in his story wore a black chiffon dress. The stories were typed double-spaced on white paper. Schaefer also admitted to writing the stories, but said they were fiction. However, in a strange twist, Halleck's sister told police her sister bought a new black dress for a date with a married teacher. We may never know how many slain women litter the path of this vicious killer. As recently as June 2022, new evidence surfaced which might link Schaefer to a 48-year-old cold case. In June 1974, the skeletal remains of Singer Island Jane Doe were discovered near the waters of Palm Beach County, Florida. The local sheriff's office failed to make a connection between the missing girl and the local killer cop. The erosion of evidence and lack of ID stopped the investigation before it began. Now, thanks to DNA analysis technology, those remains were identified as Susan Gail Poole.
Poole's purse was left on a friend's couch before she went missing in December 1972. Schaefer was out on bail at this time for his abduction of Pamela Wells and Nancy Trotter. Per the Washington Post, current detective William Springer says, quote, Schaefer is the best suspect. Springer noted that Schaefer's MO was to pick up young girls hitchhiking, and the body's location, quote, tied up in the mangroves fits his known crimes. If Poole had her purse the day she went missing, perhaps it would have found its way into Schaefer's collection. But what did Schaefer do to his victims once he had them in his grips?
Schaefer would lure his victims by either claiming he was from out of town and looking for help or wanting to hang out, offering rides to girls hitchhiking. Sometimes he would pick up his victims while on duty, telling them whatever they were doing was illegal. Either way, he would get them into his vehicle and offer to drive them to their destination. Once in his car, Schaefer would drive them to an out-of-the-way swampy area and force them out of the car at gunpoint. That's when things got terrifying. If we go off of what we know, he would have the girls stand on mangrove roots before tying pre-made nooses around their necks, assuring them that at any moment they would result in slipping, falling, and of course, hanging, garnering himself the nickname, the Hangman. But it goes farther than that. From this point, with the girls tied up and held at gunpoint, the games would begin. He would scare them by telling them they were being sold into foreign sex trade. He would also have the girls choose which would be the first to die, getting off on the fear in their voices. He then went into the mutilation. He would make one girl watch as he gouged out eyes and cut deep gashes into their friends, while telling the other they were next. The next part is a bit foggy. Some believe it is at this point he would assault them, but it is believed by many that after his victims took their last breath, that's when he would begin to act on his necrophiliac urges, just like he did with the mutilated, decapitated cattle from his youth.
This is where the story of Gerard John Schaefer's nightmarish reign ends, but it's not the end of the story completely. Now let's talk about a man named Vincent Rivera. Now, on February 10th, 1990, Vincent Faustino Rivera met 43-year-old Grace Anthony at a bar. He talked his way into her home and eventually he murdered her. She was found strangled to death on her bedroom floor by her children a few days later. Now, although the police initially said that she had been beaten to death, they later said it looked like she died of natural causes.
I'm sorry, what?
I don't get that.
What?
I feel like that's not one that you would confuse with dying of natural causes.
No.
Like if you beat somebody to death, they don't look like they just had a stroke.
Beaten and strangled.
Very, very strange. It's a very strange.
Telltale things there to say that is definitely not natural causes.
That's weird. Now, Kevin Lamar Davis was an African-American hairstylist in Tampa, Florida. He was driving down the street with some friends when he made a terrible mistake. He unknowingly offered a ride to his soon-to-be killer as he walked down the street. Now, a week later, Rivera and some of his friends visited Davis. Now, the friends left, and Rivera stabbed Davis to death in his home at 8315 Iberia Place. Now, Rivera fled to Miami, ditched the car, and flew to Los Angeles. Police caught up with Rivera less than a week later in California. He was using Davis's stolen credit cards and pawned some of Davis's jewelry. Now, he was offering to pay guests hotel expenses if they gave him cash in return, which doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand that. Oh, I do get it. He was
paying with the dude's credit card.
Okay, all right,
and
right,
getting
right.
cash from people.
Yes, I get it.
Okay.
Now, once under arrest, Rivera confessed to murdering Davis and Anthony. He was found to have had IDs from multiple people, and police in California sent Rivera back to Florida, where he faced murder charges. Even though his crime seemed well planned, 2 psychiatrists said Rivera was incompetent, and the claim was that he hallucinated and was incoherent. His lawyer said, quote, he was an awful sick puppy. Now, one psychiatrist, Dr. Melvin Gardner, said Rivera had the highest potential for homicide he had ever seen. He recommended Rivera be, quote, under heavy sedation and be maintained in this way at the state hospital. And Gardner had previously interviewed other murderers, including serial killer Bobby Joe Long, who terrorized Tampa in the 1980s. The prosecutor said it could take months for Rivera to stabilize. Quote, hopefully, we'll get him back in 3 months so I can put him in the electric chair where he belongs, Ronald N. Ficarota said.
Lock him up.
That's a name.
Lock him up.
Ficarota.
It's a mouthful.
We come across some very...
strange names.
Well, not strange, just unique, like ones I've never heard before. I mean, it's a very Italian name. Now, Rivera had told the police he fled to New York for Florida because Florida had the death penalty and he wanted to die. But before trial, Rivera changed his mind and, in a deal, pled guilty to avoid the death penalty. In state prison, after the trial, Rivera was said to be problematic.
Yeah, I bet.
He filed appeals about the trial, sentencing, and human rights complaints. He filed so many appeals that the United States Supreme Court got so frustrated they forbade non-criminal writs because they were too frivolous. And Rivera then filed a complaint in response.
He was just a complaining fool.
That's right.
Wow. And they were like, He went on to have 47 disciplinary write-ups in 5 years, including assaults on other prisoners. On December 3rd, 1995, Rivera would take it upon himself to kill serial killer Gerard Schaefer. It is unclear why it happened, but it is said to have been over hot water, or Rivera might have been a hired assassin. He was sentenced to an additional 53 years and 10 months. Rivera was given more time for serial killer Gerard Schaefer's murder than for the innocent victims he killed. Today, Rivera has the distinction of killing another serial killer. Rivera, however, is pretty well unknown. He is only mentioned on Schaefer's wiki page, and that's it. And that's the story of Gerard John Schaefer.
Or is it?
Ooh.
Because we have one more episode.
Okay.
And it's going to be about the stain that he left on a specific area in Florida. Because what we didn't really talk about, I mean, we've talked about it in other parts of this, but there is a place that is said to be haunted because of him. And it's called the Devil Tree down in Florida. And this is actually where he would tie the nooses to the girls and tie them around trees and
specifically
do those
the mangrove roots.
Yeah, do those terrible things to these girls was in this little spot. And the tree has a name.
So here comes the paranormal tie-in.
Yeah, which is how we ended up on this story in the first place. I'm hoping I don't have to read any more like gross stuff.
I don't want to. I mean, a lot.
We haven't done a paranormal episode in a while, so I'm kind of excited.
Yeah, me too.
And I have some ideas for some upcoming stuff too. So it's going to be different. Like I'm tired of just talking about one thing. We're bigger than that. So we're gonna get into some other weird stuff, I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my beautiful wife just bought me a drone for Valentine's Day. So if we can get because I don't know if some of you are my friends on Facebook that listen, and I like taking photos and stuff. So if we can get a local location, I'm going to get my drone out there so I can get my own,
our own footage. Yeah.
And I'm pretty excited about that. So this is where the story of Gerard John Schaefer's life ends. But unfortunately, we think he might have left us something that we're going to have to get into next week. So.